So, Chana, you said that you grew up here in Israel. Can you tell me a little bit about what it meant to grow up with your parents? Obviously made Aliyah from Ethiopia, but growing up as second generation in Israeli society, where I feel, at least in my experience, not many people probably, 20 years ago met Ethiopian people in their class, in their communities. What was it like to grow up in both ways?
Growing up with parents who struggle with the language barrier is hard, because when you're in first grade, you want your parents to help you doing your homework, and who can help you? I mean, my big brother had to help me, and they always say Ethiopian people are kind, are nice, quiet people, but it's a stereotype that you have to break. And I was shy. Naturally, I'm shy, and people told me like, oh, it's because you're Ethiopian, that's part of your culture, part of you, just because you were born a certain way. And you start wondering, is it because I'm shy, or maybe because my parents, everyone who surrounds me taught me to be kind and polite and nice and quiet.
Do you feel like that, you said that that's what was taught, do you think that it was taught because it's like a really important value in Ethiopian culture, or more that you guys, like your family made Aliyah, and to fit in and whatever is to be kind and nice and to let everything slide?
Fit in. I think that Ethiopian people in Israel, they're broken, because when they made Aliyah, they lost so much. So they don't want to lose anymore. So they decided to just play along.
When you say that they lost so much, what do you mean? What did they lose by making Aliyah?
My father, my family, they had properties, they had cattle, they had so much money, and they left everything to come to Israel.
Do you think that they left all these things behind? Were they able to build themselves up, or is that part of the problem where they tried to be kind and nice because they weren't able to get to the same places that they were in Ethiopia?
I don't know how to answer. I mean, nature or nurture, I have no idea. I don't know if they were born this way or because of the Aliyah, or...
But do you feel like in Ethiopia they had certain jobs and they came to Israel and they were able to continue that they were able to sustain themselves? Is that part of like what they lost?
Mm-hmm. I think they lost so much, and the jobs they had there, most Ethiopian people from Ethiopia that made Aliyah were from the country. Sometimes they had to be taught how to use a toilet. So they had to learn so much. So you can't expect someone from Ethiopia she was, I don't know, mohelet, how do you say? And when they came to Israel, they told them, you can't do that anymore. So most of the jobs were irrelevant.
So how do you feel like that impacted you growing up here? Like you said that people thought that you were shy. Did you have any other instances where people, I don't know, stereotyped you, or because you had such a, like your family had such a past of making Aliyah and went through all these difficulties, that it affected you in a different way?
I think people, when they look at me, they assume that all the stereotypes, they just, okay, so Ethiopian, you probably eat a lot of spicy things. You probably, you have a lot of brothers and sisters, and any other stereotype.
What in school, growing up, like inside of the Israeli Jewish system, did people talk to you different or act differently towards you because you're obviously from a family from Ethiopia?
Most of the time, they treated Ethiopians differently, but just because they assumed I felt inferior. As a student, you usually have your family support and they help you during your homework, but as an Ethiopian descendant, I didn't have that, because when my parents grew up, when they used to go to school, teachers were treated with respect. And here in Israel, not so much. You can talk how you want. I remember in my Yesodi,
Elementary school?
It was first grade. The teacher of our Kita Makbila
To your class, to the other class?
to the other class, she used to hit children.
Wow.
And the parents didn't do anything. But when I had friends, neighbors, that they were the same elementary school 5 years later, and when the principal hit their son, they protested in Afghana. They made
they protested.
Yeah, they protested. And when it was my generation 5 years earlier, they didn't do anything. They just accepted the behavior.
And this is in a school that the principals and the teachers were
White, Israeli white.
And do you think that people didn't care just because of the generation difference, or because they were hitting children from minorities?
Children from minorities. They hit children that their parents didn't have the strength, and they couldn't protest. They couldn't
like speak up for themselves.
Yeah,
they couldn't
speak up.
do anything about it. And then throughout, elementary school, middle school, high school, throughout that time of age groups, did you feel that the schools put you in different categories than other children?
I think during high school, the government had a program called Brankovice, and the whole idea behind this program was to Ethiopians have להשלים פערים.
They have to fill in the gaps.
But only Ethiopians. But some Ethiopians don't have the gaps to fill in. I made 5 יחידות אנגלית.
Yeah, she was excellent at school. She passed her bagriot, her matriculation exams.
But they forced us to go to Brankovice, even though I didn't need any help. So now, when I'm older and when I'm part of the education system, I can see that the programs are different. In the school I teach, we have a program called The New Way, The New Path. And the whole idea behind this program is to find the needs within the society, within the community, and to help children who needs help, or to strengthen children who has good things.